Great Scott, it looks like the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, is preparing to take the Conservatives back to the future in a desperate attempt to turn around the party's fortunes. The Tories are polling at their lowest rating in modern history, and last week's budget did absolutely nothing to help that. Jeremy Hunt's tax giveaway saw the Tories slip another 5 points behind Labour. But fear not, the Prime Minister is planning to roll back the years and party like it's 2019. Boris Johnson is back. So, as we know, Rishi suffered a blow yesterday after Lee Anderson, a former deputy chairman of the Conservative Party, decided to defect to Reform UK. Anderson was one of the most well-known Red Wall Tory MPs before he was suspended for saying that Islamists had got control of Sadiq Khan. So cue Boris. The former PM is likely to be deployed in the north of England and the Midlands as the Tories seek to win back voters who helped Johnson to that 80-seat majority in 2019. Johnson allies and senior government sources confirmed that the former Prime Minister was expected to play a significant role in the general election campaign. They said he was likely to visit those marginal constituencies, make speeches and appear on leaflets. It seems that Sunak is following the plan of many failing Hollywood studios. It's time for a reboot. Why try something new? Everyone loves a sequel. Charisma, experience, popularity can simply be drafted in. All Rishi has to do is eat a bit of humble pie and get the band back together. But it does seem this will be on Boris's terms. Johnson allies say he will not be on the same stage as the Prime Minister. Boris, of course, has been a critic of Rishi Sunak, and he still blames Rishi after he was forced out of Downing Street. He's publicly criticised the Prime Minister over an array of issues, including Brexit and the direction of the Conservative Party. And remember, it's not just Boris, though. Former PM David Cameron was brought back into the cabinet. Foreign Secretary Lord Cameron is unlikely to appeal to voters in those red wall seats, so he'll be tasked with winning back the wet Tories in the leafy suburbs and the home counties. Cameron's role will be to lend credibility and convince voters that the adults are back in the room after the turbulence inflicted on the country by the last few years of the Tory psychodrama. Rishi Sunak's challenge is holding together this strange coalition of seats won in 2019 when Brexit was the threat and Corbyn galvanised. Brexit and Corbyn were the difficulties. Perhaps Johnson will hold Scunthorpe and Cameron will secure Surrey. It's a gamble for Sunak to invite the foxes inside the henhouse and a clear admission of his very own obvious shortcomings. Sunak allies argue we don't have a presidential system and the public vote for a party, not the leader. But never has this idea been put under greater scrutiny than now. Joining me to discuss this is the broadcaster Clare Muldoon. It's an interesting one, wasn't it? Because we all thought Boris, he likes a bit of profile. Yeah. But he wouldn't go anywhere near trying to rescue his own party if it meant saving Rishi Sunak. But apparently, he's going to do it.
Or if it meant him getting a seat in the Lords. I think that might be the pathway.
Do you think so?
Oh, absolutely. He's a very cunning young fox, is old Boris.
You think?
Oh, yes. Come on.
You think underneath all that bluster and impromptu, spontaneous kind of demeanour that there is actually a crafted plan?
Of course there is.
Yeah.
And there's also a crafted woman behind him, below him, in him, is Carrie. I mean, she's very much the one that's the driving force. Yeah. And she didn't do this for nothing. Yeah. She really didn't.
So the plan is that he gets in the House of Lords beforehand? Because he can campaign without being in the House of Lords.
No, he will go back and he will wear that cape. And I can see the Spectator or the Times cartoon now, the Mac cartoon, him with his cape, you know, running, saving the world, saving Britain, saving the Conservative Party, and giving the two fingers, not the way that Churchill put them up, but the other way, the offensive way, to Sunak and the guys that got him out. You know, you do not mess with someone like Boris Johnson.
You see, I wondered, and this might be a stretch, that... So Boris goes campaigning in the Red Walls.
Yes,
and, he goes
and that's where they're going to send him.
That's where they're going to send him. His face is on the leaflets. He does some of the hustings. He's very visual in all the local press and TV.
Conservative voters miss him.
They do. So let's say those seats do better because of Boris.
Yeah.
And then re-stands an MP after the next election, with a view to becoming the party leader, with a view to becoming the next prime minister at the following election.
No,
because he's not let it go.
I think that's too long term, and I think
so?
Yeah, absolutely. And albeit I think he's a great political machinator. He has his eye on the prize. The prize for him, is the House of Lords.
But is that a big prize anymore? I mean, the House of Lords got like 17 trillion people in it. Everyone's in it. You're a bit weird if you're not in the House of Lords.
It's something that I think he has coveted. And he wants to be with his old mate Cameron, doesn't he? You know, relive the Bullington days of Eton College, etc., and Oxford. So you just don't know. I mean, that's the basics of it. But to bring him back in, you know, to try and say it's going to unify the party...
Well, the question we're throwing out is this. Can Boris Johnson save Rishi Sunak? Now, we're going to open the phone lines on this now. 0344 499 1000. Can he save Rishi?
Well, that's cleverly phrased, that question, actually.
That's because I'm a genius, Claire.
We know that, Ian. But I think that what the question ought to be is, can Boris Johnson save the Conservative Party instead of serving Rishi? Because he's got no intention of serving or saving Rishi.
That's true. In the same way that Theresa May had no intention of saving Boris.
Well, she didn't. And she did not want Brexit either.
That's true. And neither did Liz Truss, for that matter.
No, she didn't.
Liz Truss was a very vocal Remainer campaigner.
Yep, she was.
Interesting
amongst
times.
other things.
But we were saying in the office earlier, I can't wait for November time. I don't want this spring election thing. Because
See, why do you not think they will not want the refugee crossings of the summer crossings where they have more, technically, historically, because of the weather? They will have more people trying to cross the channel in the summer months.
So it's going to go up?
Yeah, so why would you think that the Conservatives are willing to take that risk, plus education with the exam system, universities, all the strikes that they've had in education in this country? Do you think they would really want to take the risk of a November election?
Well, that's true. But, of course, what Rishi was banking on is that the Rwanda plan would be up and running then, before a November election. Yeah, of course, he's a politician, Claire.
Oh, my goodness.
That's where they live. They all at 22 Cloud Cuckoo Land. That's his official address. But what
about then, Ian? What about if they were to hold? What benefit would the UK have for having their election before the American election? Do you think that will happen? Or do you think they'll have it after November the 14th or the 21st or whenever it is the Americans
That's a very good point.
have theirs?
Well, either way, it's going to be two cracking elections. I mean, if you look at it from a popcorn point of view, as well as a sort of news anorak, news junk, you know, I work in, as you do, in newsrooms, and it's all about that. So for me, I don't know which one to watch. Imagine if you could watch the American one on one channel and the UK one on another channel on the same day.
You see,
where would you go first?
I don't think our election would have any throw at all on or any effect on the American election.
No, not at all.
But I think their election will have an impact on us.
So if they voted Trump, are people in this country more likely to vote for Rishi?
Well, I think so.
That's interesting.
I really think so.
Direction of travel.
Because they'll just see exactly in the direction of communication.
Yeah. Let's move on to this story. It's the Diane Abbott story, which is a bit disturbing. For
Very disturbing.
A number of reasons. She's described being put in a frightening position after the Tory donor, this was Frank Hester, who gave the Tories 10 million quid or something, 5 million quid, whatever.
Well, there's two reports, one's 5 and one's 10, so we don't know.
What's a 100% rise?
Exactly. It's only millions.
It's a big old chasm there. One is literally double the other.
Exactly.
Anyway, millions. Let's say, shall we settle on millions? Then we're covered, Ofcom fans. So essentially, he said that Diane Abbott made him feel like he wants to hate all black women, and he
By looking at Diane Abbott, he thinks he ought to hate all black women, and also that he wants her shot. Yeah,
he said she should be shot.
Absolutely, so misogynistic, racist, and appalling. Absolutely appalling. Now, these are alleged comments. These are comments from 2019. I don't care if it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, how many millions are involved. This is a Tory donor that's making, remarks like that, that's been reported to make remarks like that. I think it's disgusting.
Well, he said he was deeply sorry. He said he was rude but not racist.
Because he was caught. Sorry because he was caught, I'd say. Not sorry for what he said.
If I was to put my defence barrister hat on...
Do that. Put
Shall
that
I give
hat
it a
on.
whirl? OK.
Give that hat a whirl.
The hat is on. The wig is in position.
I do a John Bercow order.
You would, yes. I think the honourable member needs a medicinal compound. I used to hate it when he said that.
I know.
If I were to do that and look at the alleged defence of this, he would say, firstly, on the, she should be shot, is under the banner of casual phrases people use.
I get that. Right, I get that.
Last week, Gillian Keegan, the Education Secretary, talked about wanting to punch Ofsted inspectors in the face or something. Because, if I was in charge, they'd have a punch in the face. They should all be shot.
Gillian Keegan, whose husband was in Fujitsu about the horizon.
That's your man.
That Gillian Keegan.
Gillian,
OK.
That Jill. So, yes, that turn of phrase, they should all be shot,
I know.
Is that where he was coming from? Rather than specifically, I'd like to take Diane Abbott out, blindfold her, tie her to a post...
Ian, the only person that can answer that is Ian Hester.
Well, that's very true.
And I think the only person that has actually come up with any defence is him. And do you know what part of his defence was?
Go on.
I couldn't have possibly been racist because I was subject to racism from an Irish background in the 70s.
Hester, if you're watching, get in the bin, mate. Stop paddling. It's done.
Thank you.
You're out. And Rishi, give the 10 million quid back.
Yeah, your wife can give you the extra 10 million.
It might only be 5 million. That's right. If you're running short, then you'll be fine. The missus can always dip into the purse.
She can.
This story of
There's equality, isn't it?
There you go.
Yes, love it.
Not? Years ago, they'd have talked only about how your husband could help you out. No longer is that the case. Shock data shows 3.9 million unemployed and claiming benefits without any requirement to work. So that means you're on a health-based unemployment thing. 3.9 million people, even without delving into the detail. I think a lot of people would struggle to believe that nearly 4 million of your fellow Brits are currently, that's what, 5% of the population, or that's the... What's
less than that?
Yeah, it's 10... 6, 7. Should we do some math? Welcome to Countdown, everybody.
So 60 million population, right? 10% of that is 6%.
Yes.
Right, so half of that is 3%, so you're talking that's 5%. So talk about
6.5%.
5.5%, 6%.
All right, go
right?
5.5 if you want.
I'm being pedantic.
5.5%.
I'll tell you why I'm being pedantic, because I think that headline is slightly misleading.
Do you think so?
The benefit system in this country is completely broken.
Correct.
And if people are in poverty, if people are claiming benefits, in order to get the benefit in the first place, they have to jump through so many hoops. Good luck to them. The second thing, if people are on universal credit, because there's no such thing now, I don't think, as job seeker allowance. Correct me if I'm wrong. There might be. I think it's all encapsulated now into universal credit.
That was the idea, at least.
And if some person goes over the maximum number of hours worked, their benefit gets stopped.
Correct.
All benefits are paid in arrears. The benefits are there as a safety net. I think, hand on heart, and I feel very passionate about this, it ought not to be a lifestyle, OK?
Yep.
It's wrong for so many levels. You cannot bring children up in an environment where people are on benefits constantly, because it's no good. There's no pride and there's no virtue.
I couldn't agree more. I've just realised, though, we're saying population is 60, 70 million, but of course that's everybody. So if you take out kids, it's probably about 50 million. So that figure is likely to be even higher.
Well, if it is, it's a really sad indictment.
But the point
of society.
is, these are people on health. These are people who are not required to work because of health conditions, so as distinct from I just can't find a job or whatever. Are we overdiagnosing people or misdiagnosing people? And much of this is mental health.
That's a really dangerous
so you go to the doctors,
thing.
you say, I'm feeling like rubbish. I don't know what to... I wake out of bed, I can't get out of bed.
But that's not long term.
Well,
and do you remember, don't forget as well, Ian, that a lot of the NHS doctors who have to see patients in order for them to be certified to be disabled, basically not able to work, are run by tertiary private companies.
Correct.
So these NHS doctors might be doing a day or something like that in the private sector. They'll be seeing patients like that. And unfortunately, they have tick boxes. They don't look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
They don't look at everything holistically. They say, well, can you bend down? I mean, I've heard, can you bend down further than 50 centimetres? Can you sit down? How do you sit? How do you walk? How's your gait? A lot of this can be picked up by community GP practices.
I agree. And also, some people have been... I mean, we could do a whole phone-in of people who can't get any benefits because they're told they can walk and they can do this, and actually they can't get out the flipping door without gasping for breath.
Yeah.
The mental health issue, maybe it could be centred to this. We will investigate a little more. Claire, we've hit the clock.
Oh, again.
We're out of time.
Oh.
You've got to go now.
Okay,
I say
don't
that
be
kindly.
You don't say that kindly at all.
I say that kindly.
That was pretty rude.
Get out. That's Clare Muldoon with us here on TalkTV.